everyone. Welcome to episode number 5. This is a very, very, very exciting one because I have a extremely talented musician here with me.
Thank you.
This is Glasses. I randomly found him on Instagram on like one day, just scrolling through my feed and all the hashtags that I follow, and like
Oh, that's good to know.
my mind was literally blown after I saw like what Glasses can do with his hands. And before we start kind of like talking and discussing, I wanted to show a quick clip so you can get an idea of what to expect. So yeah, as you can see, this man has probably 2 brains, 7 arms, and I don't know. Maybe he's an alien, but it's just personally, I'm always blown away anytime I see
Oh,
anything
thanks,
that he
man.
does.
I just have one non-functioning brain, by the way. It
That's
works on
awesome.
coffee.
Right. I mean, yes, I can definitely relate to that. Um, so yeah, Glasses, please tell me a little bit more about your background, your history, kind of like how you became to play 7 different pianos and drums at the same time, and we can go from there.
Well, I was born in 1921. No, just kidding. I was born in Israel, and I grew up in Israel, just like you. Well, no, you weren't born there, but you grew
Yeah,
up
I grew up
there.
in Israel as well, so yes.
Yeah, I grew up playing violin and piano. I
Okay.
ditched the violin at one point. I was tired of it, but I stuck with the piano, and I played classical for a few years, and then switched to jazz in high school, or even before high school. Actually, I got really into jazz and obsessed with it basically, and started um, just studying that and practicing that all the time. And then later on, like after I graduated from high school, sort of. I didn't really graduate, but let's say I did. um, I got into synthesizers and electronic music, and actually, what turned me on to that was Radiohead. Like they were the band that
Nice.
when I discovered them, I was like, oh my god, what are these beautiful sounds? I want to know how to make them. Yeah. So a lot of people get to electronic music from like EDM and that kind of side of it, but
Yeah.
I got there more from like the indie, British rock side. But anyway, so ever since then, I've been, trying to just combine all my influences into one: the classical, the jazz, and the indie electronic stuff. And I moved to the U.S. 5 years ago. Been living here, making music, touring with some people, and eating a lot.
That's awesome. So, where in the U.S. are you right now?
So I live in Oregon and Portland.
Okay, cool. So, what made you come to the U.S.?
Well, I wanted to move here for a long time. I mean, Israel is great. There's a cool music scene there, but it's very small.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of opportunities, especially for people who want to, write music in English, which I always have because my main influences have been in English.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's actually a much bigger scene than there was, say, like 10 years ago. Like, I had a band in Israel 10 years ago, and it was very hard to really break through, like with writing in English. People were all the time like asking us like, why aren't you singing in Hebrew, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that was not the only reason, but that was one of the reasons. And I knew that here there are just endless opportunities. It's a huge country. Like, you can
Yeah,
travel,
absolutely.
you can tour. I mean, because you've lived in Israel. Like, if you want to tour in Israel, you basically have to fly to Europe. There's no
Pretty much.
touring in Israel.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, takes you a couple hours, and you're like, okay, well, this is it. The country's
yeah,
over.
exactly. So I wanted to be able to travel, tour, play music. I've been like a synth head for quite a while now. So,
Oh, I feel
the
you, man.
yeah, I can see behind you. So for me, the idea of like also working with the manufacturers, like I was always kind of nerding out about that
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
I want to work with them. Yeah,
that's definitely like some like a cool thing that you can basically only experience here. If you live in a different country and you are talented and you want to like collaborate with like synth manufacturers or like different musicians, you don't really have a lot of options,
yeah.
unless there's like a local like synth manufacturing like in Israel or like a local shop. You can
I
like
don't know of any shop in
yeah,
Israel that
I,
makes
I don't
sense.
think there is anything
Yeah,
right now, but yeah, it's like you're very limited in your options, and like you said, you like, probably end up either flying to Europe or just moving somewhere else
yeah.
because there's just like so much more opportunity. So yeah, I know you've worked with Arturia, correct?
Well, actually, I haven't worked with Arturia, but
Oh,
I've worked with Nord and with Sequential. I work a lot.
sorry, sequential. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking. I don't know why. I think I was thinking about Arturia because I was just looking at their new like V Collection 8 and whatever.
yeah.
Uh,
They make some awesome stuff as well. I'm not exclusively working with one company.
no, of course.
and the beautiful thing about I think the synthesizer world and also gear in general is that, especially with these smaller manufacturers, it's not like super competitive. They're all kind of friends with each other, and
Right.
at least they appear that way. I don't know, like behind closed doors, maybe they hate each other, but
I don't
but
think so, man.
they're always like they're you go to Nam, you meet all these guys, they're always chatting, they're having a good time together. Like even when Bob Moog was alive, I know he was a good friend with Oberheim and Dave Smith. So there's this really nice feeling of you collaborate with all these different companies. You don't feel like you have to stick with one because they're very competitive or something. So
No,
that's cool.
absolutely. The entire kind of like synth community is like it's very like welcoming and very open to people who like maybe just want to get started or it's completely foreign to them. I feel like at least from my personal experience, just when I first got into
Yeah,
all of this world, it was always kind of like, oh, okay, cool, like everybody's so like nice and want to teach and share, and I don't know, it's like you feel okay, yeah, I can do this. It doesn't feel like behind closed doors, and if you don't know what you're talking about, like you're not welcome, so that was super
yeah,
nice.
yeah. When did you get into synthesizer?
Oh man, like initially, I think I was like a teenager. I wasn't really into synthesizers back then. I was just like discovering like Fruity Loops, and hey, I can make electronic music on my computer, and it was
Hmm.
like, just such like a mind blowing experience. I'm like, oh my god, look at this! Like this is so cool. I don't have any professional training. Like I've never taken any like lessons, or I don't know how to like read music or like play the actual piano. Hey, I can still do this without having any of like the professional knowledge or training.
Yeah,
So I kind of like started with Fruity Loops and dabbling, and then like I went to Cubase and got like my first MIDI controller like from M Audio, I think it was, uh, and it was always something I was like super into but never took seriously. It was just like always there, and only like recently, I would say like in the past like 5 6 years, basically after my first son was born, I was like, this is like I need this. This is something that I didn't realize how important part of it is in my life. And so I just like started getting more serious into it, and like started my YouTube channel, and like now doing this podcast, and releasing music on Spotify and stuff, and just meeting so many cool people. Like the more I get into it, it's just I love it so much.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, and with all the money we make on Spotify, we can buy another knob for our machines. Yeah, it's
This
great.
is it's funny you brought this up because I think I just passed the $13 mark that I made off of my streams.
Amazing. Maybe a
Oh man,
Behringer will make something too. $13. A knob
nice.
clone.
I see what you did there. So I want to know more about like your actual process when you play, because like again, like watching your videos and like how you play melody with your right hand and then bass and drums at the same time with your left. Like, can we like dive deep on that? This is
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
this
for
is just
sure.
it's crazy to me. Like, how do you do that? How did you learn to do that?
Well, I got the idea to do something like that like maybe 10 years ago. And what I did is I bought this Roland Phantom workstation that I was using live, and you could split the keyboard into like 16 zones if you
Oh
wanted.
wow. Okay.
So I kind of experimented with splitting like a few notes of an octave into like a drum zone, and then the zone right next to it into bass, and then I could like play both.
Nice.
And I started like just practicing that for fun, and then I was like, this is cool, but it would be better if I could actually drum on some
With
pads or
pads. Yeah.
something. So I ended up just buying like a little pad controller, but it was like just 16 pads, and I put it like at a 90-degree angle to like the keyboard, and then I would like play the key with my thumb and drum on that. And I actually made a video like that. If you go to one of the first videos on my YouTube channel, you'll see it. I worked like for months on that. I practiced it. I played a really simple beat, and I played the bass with my thumb, and then like some arpeggios and stuff in my right hand, and I was singing as well. So I did this like
Oh my
really
god.
difficult thing, and I remember like I made that, I recorded it, and then I was like, God, I'm never doing this again. This was exhausting.
Right.
So I stopped doing that for like a very long time, for years. I kind of ditched that idea. But then after I was living here in the States, I think I was in Guitar Center or something, and I saw this Akai Mpk Mini,
This guy
which
right
you
here.
have right there. Yeah, exactly. And I saw it at Guitar Center. I was like, I could probably like drum on this, and the keyboard is right under it, and then I could play the bass part. Maybe I should give that a shot again. So I bought it, and then instead of like working on one like 5-minute song that's like super difficult and trying to nail a take of that, I said, I'll write like these short 30-second jams,
Yeah.
and that way I could practice them, and then if I need to do 100 takes, whatever, it's 30 seconds, just play it again and again until you get it. It's
Right.
kind of like it's just like a mini challenge, uh, kind of like
I
the
like that
Olympics or
idea.
something. I made this video called Finger Twisters, and that was like my first experience of like a video going sort of viral. It wasn't like
Awesome.
millions of views, but it was like hundreds of thousands of views, which I'd never experienced before with one of my videos. And it was like, people are liking this. Maybe I should do it again. I started working on more and more of these videos, and doing longer pieces and covers and stuff like that. And after maybe a year of doing that, I decided that I want a custom built controller, because I found like with the pads that it was easy to like just brush against the pad and like trigger a note that you don't intend to trigger.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of felt like I wanted something that had buttons instead of pads. So I kind of asked around. I asked some friends if they know anyone who can build a MIDI controller, and they referred me to Matt Moldover, who's super super talented creator. He's a musician, a really good musician, and he builds these gadgets and MIDI controllers and stuff. So
That's awesome.
he, so I reached out to him, and he agreed, and we kind of brainstormed for a while, try to figure out what the best design would be. So I ended up just buying like the mini keyboard, the Akai mini keyboard, but without the pads, and set that to him. And then he added this whole other part of it with arcade buttons,
Do
and
you, do, do you have it handy?
I do. Let me. It's velcroed to my keyboard. Let me get it. All right.
There it is. That's so cool, man.
So yeah, so the keyboard part is an existing product, but this whole thing up here, like he added it, and he kind of, he connected everything into one
that
instrument.
that
There's
looks
like,
amazing. It looks like a polished final product. Like it doesn't
yeah,
look
I
like,
mean he's fantastic, and there's like it has its own USB out, so there's USB out for the keyboard
yeah,
and USB out for these.
that's awesome.
Um, and I did forego like velocity sensitivity for this because the arcade buttons they don't have velocity, but I kind of realized that I don't really need it because because if I'm playing bass, then I can't lift my hand high up the keyboard, so it's hard to like hit them hard anyway with a
Right,
lot of force. So it's better for me not to have velocity. But what I do is like I have a lot of buttons, so I can have like three of them set to trigger the same hi hat, but
right.
at
Just on a
different
different
velocities.
velocity. Yeah,
Yes, I can still have some like dynamic response, or I can work with like a pedal or something.
right.
So there are workarounds. It's not perfect. Like I would love to make like a Mark II.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like a V2 of that.
We call it the Arcadia. So like a version 2 with like something fancy, or maybe like there's like a velocity sensitive arcade button or something. But maybe in the future. For now, this works well for me, and these arrangements they're not easy. Like you see the final product, you see the take that I nailed, and you're like, oh man, how does he do that? But you don't see like the
Of
many
course.
hours of me messing it up. so it's hard work, and sometimes I can get them done within a few days. Sometimes it's weeks of practice until I can nail it. So it's rewarding, but it's definitely hard work.
No, I mean it's good to like kind of like see behind the scenes what's going on, like hear you talk about it because like you said, and honestly that was my perception. Like just watching your videos on like YouTube or Instagram, it's like he's just insane and he's just talented. But again, like you don't see the 500 videos that you deleted from your phone before you got that one
Yeah,
perfect one.
exactly.
And like, nobody thinks about that. You just see the final product and be like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean
And
it's kind of like when you see the athlete who's nailing that pole vault, but
right.
he had like 100 attempts before that where he did it.
No, again, it's like one of those things that I love talking about. How people always see this like successful musicians, and you you never think about like the road or like the hard work that they put in to get to
Yeah,
that point. You only see them like at the pedestal performing in front of millions of people, and you're like, oh man, like how can I ever uh,
yeah,
get to that point? But like you just need to work really hard and practice a lot all the time if that's what you really want. Like, and that's
yes.
the way to get there.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that you have to really suck at something until you're good at it. And many people are just too afraid to suck at something, so they don't even try. You
Absolutely.
you don't just wake up in the morning and oh, you're great at playing an instrument or whatever, or great at producing or great at mixing or anything really, or even cooking, Like you have to make a lot of really bad stir fries until you
Until you nail that one, and then you invite
Yeah.
friends over, and they're like, "Oh my god, you're an amazing cook." You're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
if you saw the amount of food I threw away, like,
Yeah. Or I ate it, but it was horrible.
no, it's really true, and honestly, it's so inspiring to hear like other musicians also like share the exact same challenges and kind of the exact same steps along the way of like, yeah, I've sucked for years until I became good at something, and it's like,
I mean, I think that applies to everyone. Yeah, maybe not Jacob Collier, but he's the only one who doesn't. But he's like crazy.
what do you use when you produce like your own music? Like, do you just use hardware gear, or do you also use like a DAW, like a digital audio
Well,
workstation?
Cubase. I use Cubase.
Okay.
You do as well, right?
No, right now I'm an Ableton user.
Oh, okay, Ableton. Yeah, I've thought about making the jump to Ableton, but I started using Cubase, when I was a teenager, and I know it so well
Exactly. Yeah.
that it's been hard for me to make the switch. So I'm still with Cubase, and I do use a lot of hardware synths because I love actually playing something physical. I love the
Yeah.
tactile feel. Uh,
Absolutely.
I love. I mean, I feel most inspired when I don't have too many options because sometimes with software it can get too insane.
Oh yeah.
Like you open a software synth and there are like a million parameters, and where do I even start? But like you play like a Moog synth and two oscillators, a filter. It's like really simple. Plug it into a pedal that has three knobs,
Right.
and now make music with that. And that's really inspiring to me because I stopped thinking about the technical aspect of it, and I just feel like I'm playing an instrument, just like when I play a piano. I'm not thinking about the hammers and the strings. I'm just playing.
Right.
So that's what I love about hardware. But I do use software, of course, as well. I think for mixing, it's great.
Yeah. You kind of have to.
Yeah,
Like you're
kind
not
of
gonna
like.
sit there with like a hardware mixer and try to like master a track. Like no, I'm
Well,
just
some
gonna.
people do, and they do awesome stuff, and that's cool. But yeah, that's not for
Sure.
me. Like for me, the mixing is less about it being inspired. It's more technical. It's just like
Right.
zone in, focus, and figure out how to get it sounding the way you want. So for mixing and also effects and stuff like that. I do use some software synths as well. Like I have Omnisphere, which I think is really good, and a few others that I use. So yeah, I kind of mix both of them.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. When you said, the less you have, the more you're kind of like able to do. Because even like myself, sometimes I sit down, like I get like a new like software synth, and I open it, and then like an hour goes by, and all I did is just like sample different presets and just kind
Yeah,
of like see what this synth is all about.
yeah,
Tweak little parameters, see what they do, and then like I
exactly.
don't actually do any actual work. And they're like, oh man, I'm tired. Like
Yeah,
it's been
exactly.
too long. And when you just limit yourself, it's which is kind of like a cool challenge to do with yourself. Just be like, hey, I'm just using this one like tool, this one,
Hmm.
like the Mother 32, for example, and then like try to
Yeah,
make an entire track just by using that, right?
yeah.
And it gets you like thinking outside the box, gets you like more creative because you're limited. If I just
Hmm.
give you a hammer, be like, hey, like go build something, you're gonna like start be creative. Like, okay, what can I do with the hammer? But
Yeah,
if I give you a toolbox with 100 tools, you're like, I don't know what I'm building because I have so many
exactly. Yeah,
options.
that's a good analogy. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think with a gear can get very addictive as well, as you know.
Oh, absolutely,
And
gas.
I've made the mistake of like buying too much gear, and getting into that same problem where you're spending most of your time either learning how to use new gear or researching your next piece of gear, or
Absolutely.
yeah, and
No, it's very true. And it's an actual like it is a problem. It's almost like an addiction, like in like the best way possible. Like if you were
it is an
gonna be
addiction, I
addicted,
think. Yeah,
if you're gonna be addicted to something, I think like buying like musical instruments is probably one of the best options.
I guess. Yeah,
Depends how you look at it, but
yeah,
I want to ask you really quick, if you can talk about it, about your collaboration with T Pain,
yeah.
because that was
Sure,
probably like a big moment for you. I'm assuming. I
sure.
don't know much about it, so would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So one of the first videos I made with this drumming technique, was actually kind of a demo of a plugin called Manipulator. It's like a vocal plugin where you can sing and like harmonize yourself in real time.
Is it by Infected Mushrooms?
Well, yeah. Well, it's a collaboration between Polyverse, which is who are the developers, and
Right.
Infected Mushroom. Um, so I actually they're Israeli. They're an Israeli company, and they sent me the software. They asked me if I want to check it out, and I loved it. So I wrote this short song using it, and I posted it on Reddit, which was kind of new for me. I wasn't really familiar with it, but some people told me, you should post on Reddit. So I posted it there, and then it started rising up there in the in the pages, and T-Pain commented on it. Apparently, he's like a Reddit user, and he saw it and he wrote, "Holy shit, man, this is amazing. Let's work together."
That's awesome. See, this is why I love the internet, man.
Yeah, you love it, hate it. Like this, good and
Wh-
bad.
which subreddit was that? What did you post it?
It was just our videos.
Oh,
So like
okay,
the main video subreddit. I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm just gonna go
nice.
big. And it did well. It went up there in the ranks or whatever. I don't know what the
Upvotes,
Reddit
yeah.
terminology is. Yeah, so it got upvoted, and once T-Pain replied, obviously it got a lot of attention. So he wrote, "Hit me up." So I sent him a DM through Reddit.
Amazing.
And he replied, and he said, "Yeah, man, that was cool. Let's do something." And so we chatted for a while, but then after a while, he kind of stopped responding, which I kind of expected. So like this guy must be very busy, and
Of course, yeah.
I'm sure he means well, but maybe it's just not going to pan out. That's fine. So um, after a while, I was like, I got to get his attention somehow. I'm not going to give up on this so quickly. So I took his NPR Tiny Desk concert, and it's like a stripped down performance where he's just singing a few of his songs, and he has like a keyboard player playing like a Rhodes patch.
Nice.
So I took just 2 minutes of one of his songs, and I kind of jammed on it with my thing, um, and I put that on Reddit, and that kind of blew up. That like made it to the very first spot on the front page.
Oh
Like
wow,
for
that's
like
amazing.
a day, it was getting like hundreds of thousands of views. Um, and and that got his attention, and then he was like, okay, let's do this. Here's my manager contact info, talk to him, let's set something up. So they invited me to like spend some time with him in LA at a studio there that he was renting. He doesn't actually live in LA, but he goes there all the time to work. So I went to the studio there, and we hung out for like 2 days,
That's so cool, man.
and we recorded some stuff. But apparently what happened was, I don't know, he lost the recording somehow, or like the computer it was recorded on was damaged, and everything that we recorded there was lost.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, well, that's what he said. And I
Right,
believe him. Like he has no reason to to go through
right.
all the trouble of doing that, and then lying to me. So I'm sure that something like that happened. And for the next like 3 years, that was in 2017. For the next 3 years, we were still like chatting on Instagram and stuff. And every now and again, I'd send him an idea and ask him, do you think maybe we could do something with this? And his response was usually, yeah, this is amazing. But then like nothing would happen. So
Right.
just a short while ago, like a few months ago, I've been working a lot on a lot of video game covers recently. Like one of my Metroid covers, like had this kind of hip hop vibe to it, and I was thinking, it would be really cool if a vocalist added something to this. It could be rap, but it could be singing as well. It needs something. It's just the me playing. It's kind of repetitive. I felt like it was a little monotonous just as an instrumental. So, obviously I sent it to him, but expecting him to say like, nah, or whatever, or not really doing it. But his response was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Let me do something with it. And within like a few days, he sends me like the files. Here, I recorded my vocals, and it's really amazing what he did. Like, he added his harmonies and his signature style, the auto tune stuff, and wrote new lyrics that are really, I think, witty and awesome.
Oh, oh, yeah. Yeah. All I ever did was put my all into it, put it all on my back. I never took the fall, now they all want me back. I never got the answers, now they calling me back. Feeling like I'm Santa, got them all on my sack. I did the math on it, I put the weight on them.
That's
And
so
really
cool, man.
fitting for the time. So yeah, so I actually released it with a full album of all my like my YouTube video recordings and my covers and stuff. Um, and yeah, and I'm really glad it ended up happening, because he's an awesome guy. He's super super nice and down to earth and friendly.
That's so cool, man. Like this again goes to show, like, you have to be persistent, right? Like if you didn't like take the action, like that scary action, hey, you know what? Like I'm gonna like, keep pushing and keep like reaching out and like keep putting stuff out and see if if something comes out of it. Like none of that would happen. You have to push beyond the fear of failure or of
Yeah,
rejection,
yeah,
and just like do
exactly.
your thing. That's so cool, man. I love that.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it was a huge honor for me, and we're still in touch, and it's great. And it's awesome because he's become like a full-time Twitch streamer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's like a full-time gamer now.
That's amazing. So
Yeah,
that's awesome how like people just adapt because like obviously like there's not a lot of uh musically related events happening right now. People doing like Zoom concerts and stuff. It's not the same.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like you gotta figure out what to do.
yeah, totally.
What do you think is like the good and the bad of, I guess, like gaining traction, or like having like your videos go viral and kind of like I said, I've been following you for a while. I think when I started following you, you were at like 3,000 followers on Instagram or something, and now you're like 20 something thousand. So it's like like you're growing in popularity, and I'm sure you'll go even further than you think. And that's my
You
opinion,
never
but
know.
you never know. So far, like I guess like the growth and like the popularity that you've experienced, like what do you think is kind of like the positive and like the negative side of that?
Yeah, well, when I had my first video, kind of successful video, I thought to myself, "Oh my God, this is it! I've made it!" Like, but then you kind of realize that people have very, very short attention spans nowadays. Just because everyone's flooded with so much content, right?
Yeah,
So you can have one video go viral, and then the next video you post be right back where you started. So there's no guarantee, just like because some videos are successful or some songs are whatever it is you're making, there's no guarantee that the next one will be successful. So what I've kind of learned is that I need to ignore that stuff, as awesome as it is. If a video does well or a song does well, then it's a really nice surprise for me. But if it doesn't, then it's fine. You just move on, make the next one. Um, but I think like if you're too obsessed with the numbers and focusing on that, then you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment. Because I mean, look at even like the biggest creators, the most successful. If you look at their views or whatever on YouTube or their Spotify plays, like it's not like a line that just goes like this, right? It's like that.
yeah,
You never know what's going to resonate with people or what's going to resonate with the algorithm because that's kind of what decides
right,
nowadays what people are going to are going to be exposed to. So I can make a video on YouTube that sometimes does poorly in the first few days, but then the YouTube algorithm is like, you know what, we're going to promote this video, and then suddenly it starts getting all these views and I have no control over that. So
right.
I'm just going to ignore that stuff. I'm going to create the stuff I love creating, and that's it.
No, that's a good way of thinking about it, because I agree with you. Like being obsessed with like numbers and like, oh my god, how many people liked it, or how many people watched it, or how
Yeah,
many subscribers I got. What are you really doing, or like why are you really doing the thing that you're doing? Is it just so you can get attention, or because you just love what you're doing and you just want to share it with the world, and the
yeah,
views and the subscribers are like maybe like a nice side effect of what you're doing?
yeah. And you have to remember that these are real people. So you
Oh,
know
absolutely.
the problem is when you get obsessed with like the numbers, then you're never satisfied because you always want more.
Of
you know
course.
it's kind of human nature. We're always greedy, right? We want more and more and more. So if one video gets 1,000 views, you're like, and then your next one gets 1,000, you're like, why did it not get 2,000? um, but then you remember, wait, these are 1,000 people who sat down and watched my video. That's amazing. Some of them took the time to write a nice comment. Some of them are now fans, are now followers and stuff. So I keep reminding myself that even if I only had 50 people following me, but they actually, they're super supportive and they motivate me to keep going, then that's awesome. So just
Yeah,
yeah, so just keep remembering that.
I agree with you 100%, that you have to think about like, hey, these are like real people. It's
Yeah,
not just, like a integer on the computer like
exactly.
thing. It's an actual person. the
Yep.
the number represents that person, but yeah, it is a person.
Yep. And in the real world, like that's when you're reminded of that the most. When you go out and or I'm at NAM or something and people stop me and like, hey, I follow you on Instagram. Like that's amazing. Then I get to know them and we talk. Um, so yeah, I think like with the internet, you were asking like what the problem is. I think in general, like there's this disconnect, right? And especially in these times where with all the social distancing and lockdown, so it feels like there's this wall between you know ourselves and other people. So
I mean, yeah,
it's
it
harder to connect for sure.
absolutely, especially like making like new friendships and new connections.
Yeah.
It's much harder now than it was, a year ago. Like,
Hmm.
you don't have any events, you don't have any social gatherings. You can't just go to like a guitar center and like talk to another synth nerd that's also shopping for his next piece of gear right now, and then like make friendships like that. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta like, you gotta think outside the box. You gotta like connect with the people that do follow you, or like, if you get a new subscriber, like message them, be like, hey, like thanks for subscribing, like have like exchange a few messages, because like why not? You never know what that might lead to in the future, and just be genuinely kind and nice to others.
Yeah. I agree. I
A
agree.
couple more things that I wanted to ask you before we start wrapping up. What do you think is your biggest challenge as a musician?
Oh man, there are so many challenges.
Of course, but if you have like a few, if it's not like something like you want
Yeah.
to elaborate, feel free to share more.
Well, let's say on the like financial side of things, it's always a struggle just to because this world is so unpredictable. You never really know, am I gonna make enough money to pay my bills this month or not?
Right.
So that's one side of it. On the more like a musical side of it, I'm always like making life difficult for myself. I'm trying to challenge myself, push my skills and my technique further. So there are always challenges. Like I'm always working on stuff that's very difficult for me. That I'm not comfortable with. So, and I like that because otherwise I feel like I would just get bored and maybe become complacent. So I like to always kind of push myself to go further, but I'll probably at some point like hit a ceiling because we're not getting younger.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the ceiling is way higher than we think. Like, and it's really inspiring to hear that like you find that passion or that power to do or try things that are challenging for you. Like, I feel like most people would never even try that. Again, going back to like that fear
Yeah,
of failure,
yeah,
or try it once and be like, oh no, it's like, that's too hard or too difficult. I can't do that, and just give up. But like keep doing the things that are hard. That's what's gonna get you to like that next level. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So like it's inspiring to hear you that like you're actually doing that.
And I think my favorite artists are those who are always pushing themselves to come up with something new and are not just like repeating themselves over and over
Right. You're just
because
being
that gets
innovative.
boring. Yeah, exactly.
And then like, oh
So
wow, that's cool. Like nobody ever thought about it. And then like all of a sudden everybody else is doing that. It's like you like start a trend or like start a new movement or start like a new thing that people start doing, and it's just like, hey, I started that. That's cool.
I'd say another challenge is also um, going back to like the social media and stuff like that because everything is so algorithm based. I feel like these algorithms really reward music and art in general that is not really innovative. Let's put it that way. Like if you fit a certain mold, then I think you will do better than if you're actually doing something different. So I think that's a challenge because it's always like there's this side of it that's kind of tempting you to, I'll just make some like easy listening lo-fi hip hop and I'll get like a billion streams on Spotify because
Right.
that's easy, and then the algorithm knows, oh, this is lo-fi hip hop. I'm going to put it in all these playlists. But if you're making music that's like, like one track is like this and the other track is like this, and I think that's a challenge for sure because then like the algorithms don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, you bring up a very interesting point. It kind of like, on one way, the all the like algorithms make it that so that it's easy because you have basically like a recipe of like what you need to do in order to be
Hmm.
like successful, or in order to like be like ranked or get more streams. So it's like, hey, if I follow these steps, I'll get to like a certain like degree of exposure and whatnot. But on the other side, like, hey, I don't want to do any of that. I want to be myself and I want to do my own thing. But then, like, just like you said, the algorithm looks at it, analyzes it, and like, unexpected error occurred. I don't know what to do with this. Throws it out of the window, and you get like 3 views, and you're like, what the hell? Like, I worked a week on this, and that's so cool. But like, why isn't it not getting traction?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
And you know
so
what?
true.
I don't blame people who make music that that they know is going to be successful. That's totally fine. Like
Of course, yeah. Like, there's no right or wrong, but it's just
yeah,
like the system rewards like only one specific like kind of like niche, right? And like, if I just want to like create like experimental modular synthesis, and it's like it's only gonna like you know fit to like a very specific crowd that's like specifically is looking for that. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna get exposed to someone who's just listening to like top 40, or like like just something that's like popular. Like
yeah,
they will never see or hear that.
yeah,
So it makes it hard to like get in front of the eyes and the ears of new people, of new fans, new
yeah.
potential
So
fans.
yeah, so there are definitely a lot of new challenges, but we're I think as long as you love what you do, then you just keep going and you try to forget about all that other stuff.
Are you working on any interesting or cool projects right now?
Um, well, I'm always working on new arrangements for YouTube videos, and I do want to start making like different kinds of videos where I kind of share my process. So I'm gonna start doing that as well. And
That's exciting. Kind of like a
yeah,
tutorial.
yeah, but more focused on like the creative side of it. So I'll create something, but you get to see the whole process, something like that.
Like
Instead of
behind the scenes.
yeah, something like that. So I'm gonna start trying that kind of thing. But I'm always working on new stuff, and I'm always working with other people as well on their own music. I record keys for people. I'm gonna be doing like this virtual tour with Todd Rundgren, who I play with. So we're gonna be spending a couple of months in Chicago, doing a show every night, but it's gonna be geo targeted, so only people from one location will be able to watch it every night.
That's so
An
cool.
interesting concept, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely hit me up when you're in town, though. Like, I would love to like hang
Oh,
out.
that's right. That's right. You're in Chicago for sure. I
Yes.
heard it's gonna be freezing in
Yep.
February,
So yeah,
March. Yeah.
that's the best time to come visit. No,
Great.
it's not. uh, and last thing, any tips or advice that you want to share with the world?
Do your dishes. Don't let them pile up, because then it just gets nasty and you know.
Nice. No,
No,
I know for sure.
my biggest tip would just be like if you want to do something, just go for it because just do it, and be prepared to fail at it for a long time, and that's cool. And I'd say like stop worrying so much what other people think because no one really cares as much as you do.
That is very true.
We
We
tend to
always,
think like,
yeah,
oh my God, if I do this and I'm gonna be bad at it, everyone's gonna hate me or whatever. No one cares. People are just gonna move on with their day. So just go for it. Just do it.
I love it. And I think I actually mentioned something like that in like one of my previous podcasts, that like if you start thinking about like the failure and the doubt and the fear as just like part of the process, it becomes so much easier, because it's as if you're like expecting that when you before you even start. So like when that comes, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, now it's, it's my self doubt, you know, stopping me.
Yeah,
So you kind of like you're aware of it, and you just kind of like let it go, and you just keep going.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
Cool,
it's
man.
easy. Like, the inner critic is always there
It's always there,
telling you
always,
you're not
always
good enough,
there. Yeah,
but you have to kind of like learn to just tell him to shut up. And I'm like, you shut up.
yeah. Get out of here. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you. Awesome. Well, thank you so 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 much. I
Thank
really
you, man.
appreciate you for like agreeing to come on here, and just like, again, like it goes to show, I didn't know like if you're gonna reply to me or if you're gonna like say yes or no. I just went for it. Like I really like the things that you do, and you inspire me. So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna DM you on Instagram and kind of like see where it goes. And like here
Well,
we
I'm
are
glad.
recording
I'm
the
glad. Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate you inviting me. I had a good time talking to you.
Awesome, thanks so much. And yeah, I'll leave all your social stuff and the description. And yeah, like please go follow Glasses, because yeah, he's just amazing. And if you like anything musical and anything cool, he's the man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you so much.
All right, see
All
y'all
right.
in the next one.